Oh, we're live. Glad you came pod. Yeah, we took the week off. Needed it. Some nice R&R, the mid-season R&R or whatever. I don't even remember when we started the season. It was probably like 10 episodes ago, considering the last one was like 70.
Yeah.
But we do have a life, day jobs, weddings, things like that to go to. It's like we need to take a breather. So balancing all this, getting the driving done, and then coming to do this. We love doing the podcast. Not going anywhere, just sometimes need to take a breather so we can mentally be ready to rock for it. We don't want some down episodes. So sorry about that specifically. I mean, we're American, so love you, America, to America, but also Denmark, who for some reason were like in the top 10 gaming podcasts in that country. So thanks, Denmark.
All right.
We love you.
All right.
I don't know why you like us, but I'm happy you do. Or maybe you listen to us because you think we sound like idiots, and that's why. I don't care. I just see the downloads. So I'll
keep it coming.
Yeah, keep downloading. I mean, it's hilarious. That's like, congrats from Denmark emails that I'm getting or whatever. And I'm like, awesome, great, love to see it. We're international, baby. So we got a lot to talk about today, but one big thing did just happen. So Weta Digital, which you might know of from the movies, and we keep talking about how the movies to games is so close. The lines are blurring. Games are using stuff from movies. Movies are, using stuff from games, include not just effects and Foley and things like that. Potentially actors, also directors. Neil deGrasse, which just wrapped filming for Last of Us Season 1, just finished the other day.
All right.
But back to Weta Digital. Peter Jackson owns Weta. It's the movie FX company. He did for Lord of the Rings and a lot of big ones. It's one of the best special effects, like CGI special effects companies. There is, I would say it's generally considered like the rock star of that. Just sold for $1.625 billion to Unity. That's right, Unity, the game. The physics engine, like the game engine.
Oh.
So Unity will have access to all the FX tools will be sold to Unity, and they'll have, people who use Unity will have access to all the assets from Weta Digital. Unity is owned by Microsoft. It's a division of Microsoft. But that's really fucking cool because that's a lot of assets, and that's a crazy weird sell because this is like a CGI FX team, unless they're going to start building out like in-house Unity teams as opposed to just supporting like the IDE which is developer environment that you can build your games in, which a lot of games are built in Unity mainly for the licensing price and structure they have set up for there, and it's free to download, easy to use. You can do Pro and Plus versions which give you access to the asset package, which I do have, so I'm curious if I now have access to like I'm just gonna put fucking Smeagol up in this bitch. This just happened. So when I saw this, I thought you were perfect to drop on it.
Yeah, I'm more.
This brings our worlds like together, like
it
crazy.
Obviously has a lot of like implications for gaming, but like I'm really curious as to what it's gonna mean for the film industry, because Weta's like ILM and Weta are the biggest effects
right.
houses.
So now ILM is just like, I don't even know if ILM helps out with their gaming branch, like the LucasArts games.
I don't think so.
Right. So
you can tell by looking at the LucasArts games.
I mean, some of them look pretty good, but yeah, no, I agree. But that's what I was saying. It's like that's kind of really weird that this is happening, because this is like, I don't think we've seen like, this is the same shit they're using in the movies they're going to try to use in the games, is what I would have said. So the acquiring company is Unity, an interactive 3D firm. It says an interactive 3D firm, but Unity is definitely owned by by Microsoft. It's the physics engine people use. But
yeah, that's crazy.
Unless it's like a different Unity, but I don't think it is.
And just like, what does it mean for the artists and stuff too? Like,
the acquisition encompasses Weta's tools, pipelines, technology, and engineering talent, which I find is really interesting. So it's like, so Jackson's also going to remain the majority owner of Weta FX as a new standalone entity.
There we go. Okay.
Which will be known, but basically, the tech division of Weta Digital was what was sold for 1.6 billion. So let's see. After the acquisition, Unity plans to make Weta tools available to the millions of creators and artists around the world via a cloud-based platform. The hope is that it will be integrated with Unity's existing suite of tools and drive the next waves of innovation in a number of emerging realms among the much anticipated Metaverse. Which leads us right into another time. For the record, I did not set up that transition. I didn't know it was going to go there, but it did. And now that I think about it, I think most games created in Oculus are probably Unity games, which is why that would kind of help, because Oculus is owned by Facebook, or now called Meta, which... Well, Facebook is still Facebook, but the parent company is Meta, which we also want to talk about because Zuckerberg basically wants to create Ready Player One. And it looks like they're kind of getting the assets to do that, but they don't own Unity. But I do, I guess Unity wants to be part of the Metaverse because people are developing things for Oculus, which develops with Unity, and now they have access to this FX package. So it all kind of rolls in the universe. Yeah. I wonder if Zuckerberg was like, Peter, you got to sell. It's just such a weird collaboration.
Yes and no. I mean, like with the whole Mandalorian thing and the volume, like you're getting closer and closer to VFX and like game engines being used in the same space. I mean, they are being used in the same space. So I don't think you could definitely tell it was heading there, but like to get there that early and have that big a buyout is interesting. And it's going to be cool to see what the effects department does on their own, because that's
they made a trailer for this announcement, by the way. They made a 2-minute.
There you go. I mean, I guess the creatives are buying in on it then.
Yeah. Do you know what headlines the trailer?
I don't.
Smeagol, that's what.
Okay, yeah.
Smeagol, Thanos, Planet of the Apes, and I don't recognize the one.
Yeah.
But to bring the game development platform Unity, basically bringing the movie quality tools to it. So it's not just the assets, but the additional, I guess, level of effects modeling you can use with that, which more is like Blender, which a lot of people use to kind of like make like animations and things like that. This probably helps. This helps all the people who actually are artistic.
Yeah.
I am not one of, I'm not one of those people. Like I grab the standard assets, fuck around with them, and live in the code and kind of do it that way. Because I can't make my own assets. I am not an artist in that sense. I don't know if people, I don't know. It's so weird now because like engineers, because you build games, like they call that art. I don't know if I would consider that myself an artist with that, but you know, the visual effects and stuff are all stuff that I just use, like whatever the engine has, I just load up with that and I don't change assets. This seems like it's going to give you those assets, but also the ability to, you know, breathe out and really edit them to another level that we're not used to seeing. I mean, I would assume Blender would be part of it.
Yeah, I think you have more and more of that in like the creative space anyway.
Yeah.
Is that I mean, coming from a video editing standpoint, like we see people applying to jobs all over the place that are just using like prepackaged graphic effects. And it's like, that's great that you know when and where to use them. But if you can't create those effects yourself and you're doing...
Oh, wow. They listed every asset they're going to give.
Oh, interesting.
The new tools, which kind of goes into what you were talking about.
But yeah, that you just have like these kind of things that you can grab, and the tools are more and more... You no longer have a hammer and nail. It's a whole assembly. It's a whole car. It's a whole machine. It's a whole...
You get the full pipeline,
It's Tesla's robots rather than just some dude named Peter doing circuitry. Like, it's... Everything's getting more complicated, and you have like the engineers aren't using the tools as much as they're building the tools and putting like a farther and farther distance between kind of like the medium and the artist, which is for a lot of old heads kind of like a pain in the ass. But for anyone that like wants to just get out there and create, like the amount of stuff that kids can do.
Sounds like you need to get a Unity license now after this, because this is like giving you access to some fun shit, even outside of the gaming aspect of it, or the physics engine part, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it's gonna open up a lot of stuff between.
Yeah, their tools they listed out. I can't pronounce how. Jesus Christ. One is Manuka, Manuka, Manuka. The flagship path tracing renderer used to generate final frames is able to produce physically accurate results based upon specific spectral lighting profiles. That's gonna be fucking sick to create like real time based lighting. I mean, talk about using ray tracing, kind of creating scenes with accurate lighting, and maybe having it that's already has built-in algorithms that you don't have to kind of pre-program and stuff. That seems like what that
Yeah,
is.
it's also interesting too because like the movie tools aren't necessarily built for speed. I have to imagine that they're just built in a completely different way that they are for games because games have to be real time. Where movies are like,
well, unless it's a cutscene, I guess. But I think maybe some of these are just leveled for the cutscene. But yeah, a lot of times nowadays we want to do in-engine, real-time rendered effects. So it's like if I change my character's costume, like you can do in Guardians, which we'll talk about later.
yeah,
The cutscene, quote unquote, has that new costume in it as opposed to a pre-rendered one, which would not.
yeah, where you're talking about like spectral reflective lighting effects that those are things where like each frame takes an hour split up between 12 machines to render.
Yeah, that's
And I don't know how they're going to like just, that's not something you can pop into a video game workflow and be like, all right, here you go.
yeah, I guess it's like depends on how they use it. Maybe it's just going to be used for some type of algorithm for machine learning of just understanding like better light patterns for that render, or it'll be used for actual CG trailers that they could render so just kind of packaged up for small things.
Yeah.
They have another one, Gazebo. Gazebo is the core interactive renderer used for viewing scenes in real time with visual fidelity inside any pipeline attached application. Since the Gazebo real-time rendering of the 3D viewport approaches the same results as Manka, which is the spectral lighting profile, artists can iterate in context of the final frame regardless of which application they use. Gazebo is also the core of production pipeline for pre-visualization and virtual production workflows. I mean, there's a ton of these. They get some cooler names like Loki, physics-based simulation for visual effects for water, fire, smoke, hair, cloth, muscles, plants. That's going to be fucking great to kind of really bring that another level of breadth and accuracy to those kind of simulations, because everybody always shows the games like, oh, look at that. The Xbox sucks or PlayStation sucks. I ran through the grass and the grass didn't wave one way or the next. It's like just load up Loki with that. Now, all these aren't going to just cut one-to-one, right? Other companies have their own physics engine they're using, right? So Sony, Microsoft, they're not using Unity for a lot of what they built, so it's not going to help. But it's going to give the tools to more of the indie devs or the smaller devs that don't want to create their own physics engine, the ability to get a more higher quality product by having this done and having these accessible. I mean, they have a bunch of new physics-based profiles, HDR converter for lighting and color workflows, a advanced puppet rigging system for optimized speed and multi-character performance. That's fucking interesting. Facial text for nice facial capture and manipulation workflows. That's going to be helpful if people actually want to fuck around. Like indie devs want to use more of that motion capture stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. A little world building. There you go. Lumberjack. Lumberjack provides a tool set for vegetation and includes modeling, editing, deforestation tools. Using Lumberjack, authors can author and edit plant topology, including animated geometry, manage levels of details, instancing, and variability among individual assets.
Nice.
I said that because
That's
shout out to Eddie. One system is called Eddie, but it's spelled like the Ed and Eddie. Eddie is an advanced liquid, smoke, and fire compositing plugin for refining volumetric effect. Eddie allows artists to generate new high-quality fluid simulations and render them directly inside their computer environment.
All right.
I mean, a lot of this is it's very interesting, and a lot of it seems very based into like real time rendering, which a lot of the stuff's in helping of that. So that's pretty interesting. There is one point. The purchase by Unity is clearly, this is from one of the blogs we're reading this from. Purchased by Unity is clearly a shot over the bow of Epic Games, who have stated they'd like to get into the movie FX production with Unreal Engine 5, because Unreal Engine 5 is Epic Games one, which you can build using Unreal Engine, creating a continuum between film and games. Well, now Unity owns the best visual FX house on the planet. Your move, Epic. So... That is true. It sounds like they weren't the only ones thinking it. So they're like, hey, why don't we have this so we can build better, more realistic, better physics, more visual fidelity, better lighting, etc. Now that we got these next generation consoles, computer gaming, graphics cards keep getting better. Let's build better environments for our games. Not just the console playing games, but the Metaverse games, which leads you into the VR games to get a level of this. And now Epic kind of has to be like, well, who's going to use their engine in the movies? Because we know what gamers are going to use it, but they have to get to the other side. That'll definitely be interesting. I think this is a crazy move. I love it. It makes a lot of sense because it is now just becoming not 1-to-1, but pretty fucking close. Because like you said, everything in movies is all pre-rendered, right? We're not rendering in real time. That's all pre-rendered in the can. It's a rendered file that we send across the world that you download, stream, Blu-ray, whatever. It's not doing things live. You pause it, you're not going to see assets load in or load out and shit like that. It takes a while to render it, which is why generally these CGI houses... movies take 1.5 2 years to come out because filming is 3 months, but then post-production is, a lot of editing stuff, but it's also a lot of CGI, which is generally like 7 months of rendering. And out of that 7 months, like 3 months are just rendering. Like, we did the edit. We're waiting for shit to finish rendering. Like, if you add it all up. So that's what I find is really interesting. It's like, well, we're not waiting 3 months. We're like, I'm shooting this whatever the fuck alien, and now it's doing this. So it'll be interesting to see,
and they do
what can be leveraged and what can't.
They do have more tools like that where like directors can kind of see like a
pre-rendered,
yeah. But
Fox has a whole fucking singing show about that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, shit, that's kind of a great example. Like, that's where we're headed, which is also, I can't believe we haven't really talked about that because.
I've only saw the trailer for it like the other week. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess it's like the Masked Singer, but like as a video game.
Yeah,
right? Like the Masked Gamer or something. I'm not sure.
What's it called? It's not like Avatar, but it's like
something. Masked Avatar or something.
No, it's the CG singing show.
Fox CGI singing show. It's all new tomorrow.
Alter Ego.
Alter Ego.
Yep. Yeah, so basically, like the Masked Singer, you have these people singing that you can't tell who it is.
But they're like a hologram or something of a video game character.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
Somehow they're projecting it so that like the judges are actually reacting to it. But I think instead of like celebrities, it's more like people picking like who
cool
they
avatars
want to be, like what their actual like alter ego is. And
do they make them up or are they like video game characters?
That I do not know.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to look. I don't want to fucking watch a singing show. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll look. Nah, I don't. They're like all the same to me, which I'm sure a bunch of people do not agree with, and that's fine.
Yep.
But no, you're right. I mean, I love how they're like, it's going to help for us in the metaverse. It's like, fuck, did Mark Zuckerberg like help sell you? And let's get right into that. So Facebook, parent company, is gone. It's called Meta. Facebook, the application still exists. We don't fucking care about Facebook unless you played Farmville back in 2009 when it was actually a rootkit. And people were playing that shit in college, if you remember that back in the day.
Oh, I remember
it. But yeah, so he wants to create, he's all in on the metaverse, all in on Oculus. It makes sense. He's kind of been building toward this for a while. Is it douchey that he took the name Meta? Yeah. Yep. Like he invented it. And it's like, bro, being meta is like information about information, jokes about jokes, inside references. I mean, metadata is literally data about data, right?
Yeah.
So Meta as a company almost doesn't even make sense. It's a company about
accompanying.
Yeah, it's like I I mean I get what he's doing, but it's douchey. The funny part is it already existed because it's a computer like building company that build computers. So they're like, we're not selling the name for less than $2 million or $20 million. And it's like, dude, you got Zuckerberg and Facebook money. Fuck yeah, I would hold true to that. Be like, yeah, we're not.
Absolutely.
So that I mean that's pretty fucking cool. But yeah, I mean basically, long story short, he really wants to create Ready Player One. That's it. Can he? I would normally say no, but I mean, look at Oculus Rift 2. Yeah. I mean, it's a wireless VR that is pretty good motion tracking, pretty good finger tracking, right? Doesn't have the pressure and stuff like we talk about with the Index, but it will get there, and it's incredibly affordable. And they just had another update where you can actually like see things that come into your zone. Like if kids come into your zone, whereas before it wouldn't like pop up unless you left the area. Now, if something comes in, it'll be like
cool. Like
you can see the dog, you can see your kid. So you won't be like scared if like a cat or a dog like runs up to you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they are doing a fuckload of innovation with it, and I can't imagine when did Oculus Rift or not Rift, sorry, Quest 2 is what I was talking about. The Rift is also one of their systems, but they're really more all into the wireless. I think not that they're not still supporting the wired. I feel like they're just going to keep going into more and more of the wireless. They've disconnected the Facebook account part. They backed that up because now it's Meta and they want you to be separate from that. But you know, they're basically want to use all. He showed like a simulation in the I almost said trailer, but like showcase. Basically, it's like create your office. Like if your office kind of sucks, go to your digital office, and we can pull information from your Instagram, your Facebook, all that stuff, because we own all that data, and link all these accounts, and you can bring real life information, and build it in here. And then you could also create.
The worst part about all of this stuff is that like it's so fucking scary and so fucking cool all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean it's literally Ready Player One. They're building worlds where are better than where you live. But have all of your information, financials, probably home, all that shit, all your PII, right? Personally identifiable information, because they can create a better, more accurate world for you that you just have more control of, or you can do cooler stuff that you can't really do in real life. You want to, to kind of make you feel like you're doing something exceptional when maybe it's a shitty day or whatever. But it's really you, so it feels more like honed to you instead of just following a campaign or a story. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely wild. I don't know where it's gonna really end up as a we're not there yet in VR, but he's getting there. And like they said, the Weta by Unity, more games with kind of these better fidelity assets, creating more realistic lighting, rendering, all that shit. I mean, who knows? There's a lot. We can have a lot of better applications for it, games. Create these little like hub worlds that we can meet other people in, right? Feel like the bar and shit like that, but it's a virtual bar. Like my problem with that is
home with the
right. Like it's like, how do I get the physical interaction? That's.
I mean, I don't go to the bar because I love bumping into people.
No, but I'm saying you go there to have a drink. So how do I get that liquid from?
That's what I'm saying. You can drink at home for way cheaper, but still have like watch the game with someone else yelling.
Oh,
in
I
your
know,
ear.
but I want when they make some crazy game drink, I want to taste that. I don't want to taste, a wolf pup. I mean, I love my puppers, but I'm just saying, like, those you see all those like a butter beer or whatever in Harry Potter. I want to bring that. Like that's what Ready Player One has. This doesn't. I feel like they're missing. When we bridge that gap, that's when it's like, yeah, when we can digitally create senses, like digitally create taste, digitally create a smell, which you kind of can. But like when I'm drinking in a game, that I'm tasting the drink they made in that game.
Yeah.
That's like when I'm like, yeah, that would be wild. And I feel like that's where, I think that's where he wants to go. And they have those suits that you kind of feel like some pressure if you're in like a shootout, like in
Yeah.
VR. So it
Kinda
gets like
haptic.
vibration or something like that. Exactly, all the haptic feedback. Shout out PS5 DualSense. But like to another level. Shout out Index as well. So the haptic and adaptive feedback. It's definitely interesting. Does Zuckerberg seem crazy? Kind of. But people said that about Musk, and now the dude is like all over the place with Tesla, SpaceX, all that shit is pumping.
Yeah.
He's a fucking electric supplier now too. I mean,
What?
yeah, in Texas, he's like taking over the grid in Texas. They announced that like a couple days ago. So
That's also like needed after their freaking
right, but like
dropping the
but
ball.
he proved the point with his whole like solar panel shit and their power packs, the Tesla power packs.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? So I mean, why not do the same? Zuckerberg's doing that for VR. And to be fair, I feel like Musk is gonna be like, jealous. I'm gonna go into that too. Like, I feel like something. I mean, Bezos will jump in eventually. I'm sure, because he just sees what other the innovative people do and then just latches onto that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's made
he's
ton
innovated
of
as
innovations for himself.
Right, well, as an online grocery store. I mean, he's an online Walmart. That's
Well, yeah, he's connected the whole freaking world through like
shipping,
making a store that is
Right.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. Amazon is your everywhere warehouse.
Yeah,
But like it's more innovative from like the shipping and warehousing perspective, like the supply chain of
and
what
the
he built.
marketplace and
Right,
yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like as far, but that wasn't stuff that didn't exist technically before, right? Because there was what not Jetty, the one that Alibaba. That's the one that like always that still competes with Amazon.
Yeah,
but not really in the U.S., more outside the U.S.
absolutely.
But they kind of started up at the same times. So, and he just found a way to perfect it. Nailed it. But it wasn't something that like no one's done before, which I feel like Zuckerberg really creating that with, Facebook essentially now going the Oculus level. They're trying to create the Metaverse. Elon with, not that rockets weren't, but he was the first one to ever create the reusable rockets and things like that. And then Tesla's whole EV car, but the only one to make it actually sellable, not the first one to make one, but the first one to make it, well, to beat out the gas companies, right? The ICE companies, I believe they call them, internal combustion engine.
Gotcha.
Which now we're all like, fuck, we're going EV. Like, I mean, because you have to. I mean, you know that's where it's going, especially with gas prices, right? Oh my God. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, it's all great. My point is, it's definitely going to be a wild future. So when people were debating about PS5 and Xbox Series X graphics, it's like, well, you're going to have more to debate about because Unity bought this, so both can get this. But the Metaverse and VR, it's like no one's talking about the Quest, and it's like, the Quest 3 could be like the one that really is like, oh, now we're in 4K, now we're balling out. Like, I don't like, it just needs a little bit more. And it's like, if you weren't selling it for $200, like what if they made a $500 Quest, right? You might be able to get that. Like you need the bit rate because I believe we confirmed it's Bluetooth. I don't think it uses Wi-Fi. It uses Wi-Fi to access the marketplace and stuff like that. But I think the controllers are Bluetooth to each other.
That makes sense.
So all the video is transferred. So as long as they have a signal that's able to transfer that bit rate, right, that has the bandwidth to handle 4K, 8K assets, whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's when you're looking at something pretty interesting, especially if he's going to sell it cheaper, that you have to get the hardware on a discount, but you have to access it through some cloud subscription. That's where you kind of can make the hardware cheaper, right, to get that. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot to think about. None of that's like official, but I don't know. That kind of just spiraled into a couple things because I was planning on talking about Metaverse and I saw this sale and it was like, it all leads into each other. So it's pretty cool.
All connected.
I'm very excited for this. I'm excited Unity is getting some legit asset store because it was always kind of like the little brother for indie developers. Not that bigger ones don't use it, but it was easy to use. You get it for the easy licensing because you don't have to pay it back unless you make X% of sales. Then you owe this much. Whereas like Crytek, you had to pay for the license. Unreal is free, but they have a different structure for their licensing. So it really just kind of works out to best for you. Or if you're a AAA and you might just make your own, like the Frostbite engine for EA and shit like that. Yeah. But a lot of that's really interesting. So I like to see that it's like, hey, we're giving this to it almost feels like we're giving it to the people. Like they bought it for 1.6 billion, and they're gonna make tons of profits off getting using these access and stuff like that, and getting the Unity Plus or Pro subscriptions, right, where you pay the additional monthly fee to get access to all this toolkit. Obviously, that's going to increase their bottom line, but it's going to create a lot of cool stuff for artists that may have not had the money to do what their vision allowed, and now they can. Yeah. So we're going to see more innovative games, especially like your journeys and shit like that. That
working from home.
It takes two.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's a Unity game, and like that guy who also did the prison game.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. That's the one I played through in one night with Brian.
Yeah. I feel like it has the same name as It Takes Two.
It definitely feels like it.
2 people to get there.
A prison game. That's it. All right, there's an Easter egg, Plastin Prisoner. Oh, there's actually an Easter egg for it in
I know. I told you we found it.
A Way Out.
Yep. Yeah, we found it. Like you go in like this little pillow fort, and there's
right,
just like the 2 action figures that you like pull their string, and they say the lines from that game.
That's pretty awesome. I have to look that up now.
Yeah, I'm really interested from like working. Like working from home is already a thing, and like once you can be in meetings,
it's Unreal 4.
Once you can be in meetings with like people that you can kind of like look at and interact with a little better.
Right.
I'm sure there's going to be like some weird thing that has like a camera faced at your mouth, so that like whatever you're saying is like mimicked and not just like a
like the Memoji thing on the iPhone or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
You'd be like a unicorn, be like, "Yeah, I'm having a great
they're
day."
already tracking your eyes, so like you can basically you need one more camera to get all or a majority of facial expressions.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should just be doing Teams meetings with a fucking Oculus headset.
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, we're going to get all this crazy shit on there.
Yeah. And then for anything like, I mean, I'm sure it could go along to anyone who's using an Excel spreadsheet too, but like doing any kind of like video editing in a VR space, I cannot wait till that's achievable. Like you can already do like some 3D modeling and stuff, which is crazy, and people are getting really good at it.
So see some pre-res shit while you're editing.
When you can like, you know how you have that stuff like where like your pen.
I love how you're doing this. Sage is just visualizing Minority Report. And just like.
But like you have that thing where like you know that your pen is under that paper that you left because you moved your notebook to this side to grab this thing.
Right.
Like imagine having that 3D spatial awareness for like the work that you're doing, where it's not like an alt tab or like go into your internet browser and tabbing between different things. You're like, oh, I left this specific thing here. Grab that, put it up there for reference. I now have like all these different reference things that I can like look at with a glance instead of Yep.
Which I think leads. I mean, this is exactly that. I mean, that would be fucking cool, and I think that's definitely right where it's heading for, like editors and stuff outside of like game development. It's like it's just opening a lot of tools, like a lot of tools in the industry, like you said. And it's like it's crazy what you can make games look like. Now, granted, VR, you have to get the hardware there, so it might not look good as something now, but it's definitely getting there. But telling you what looks good is fucking Elden Ring. You've seen that?
Oh, yeah.
They did 15 minutes of gameplay. Riding around the horse, kind of going around. Looks fucking awesome. They confirmed, by the way, PS5, Xbox Series S will both be 4K. They're both going to support ray tracing via patch and have a 60 FPS mode as well. It looks like it's February 2022, which is every game imaginable now. There's like 10 fucking AAA games that month.
It's going to be a good month.
5 classes, 60 FPS confirmed. It looks wild. I mean, I love From Software, Bloodborne, Dark Souls lore. The game's going to be hard as shit. But the 5 classes is very interesting to me. Is this like more of like an open world RPG? Like, are we going to have save points? I don't know. Is it going to be more like impossible to beat because of the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, where it's difficulties, which I love. Bloodborne is one of my favorite games ever. Or is it going to be kind of different, slightly different, just because of how it's structured. I don't know. I like the idea of being able to use vehicles while they're horses in one of these Miyazaki games, which is the From Software director. Yeah, which is something we haven't really seen before. So they create in beautiful worlds. I know George R.R. Martin also helped write for some of this or create this world, but I'm very
I
interested
still need him to finish those damn books.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see like what in the fuck this game really is, or if it really it's kind of a more open Bloodborne and Dark Souls, which it totally could be. It just looks amazing with the crazy Lovecraftian kind of setup, which are almost like Miyazaki or Miyazaki now. I can't pronounce his fucking name, and I feel so bad about it. It is Miyazaki. Miyazaki.
I'm too dyslexic to have that many letters in my head at one time.
Okay, fair enough.
I can spell "and." I can spell "table."
That's all we got. But it looks beautiful. I mean, the 50 minutes, it was awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's talking about just fucking dropping it down. You know,
Yeah,
busting that for No Nut November. I mean, come on, man.
I haven't played any of the other of those games, but I know that like they're just legendary. And
they're hard as fuck, but worth it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like I love playing games. I love like puzzles and stuff like that. My motor function is not there for that level of.
But
games.
It builds
like,
you up. It like trains you for it to be.
I also just get bored. Like you'll
definitely get angry.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, and then I just start trying to do more and more outlandish shit, and then just end up failing because I'm not playing it the way that it's intended. I mean, that shit happens with poker. It happens with like a lot of mobile games. I stopped playing that Star Wars game because I'm just like, I'm bored enough that I'm trying new things and just losing all the time. And I don't know if I told you last time, they actually send you back a level if you lose enough.
You did. Yeah, if you lose enough,
Which
you get
I respect that they do that, but it like kind of hurts where it's like, I'm going to try something new. And like, not only did you lose, like you're falling back.
You're getting hindered for being an idiot. How dare you use this not in the way it was intended.
Yeah. That and like the reward system was getting a little stretched out.
Gotcha.
Where
that's how I feel with all those
games.
They kind of like
here, and then like you're just grinding for freaking days trying to get.
That's all those mobile games are. They're all predicated on the one fact that they're just a grind. Then it's like, or you gotta wait for this to unlock, and it's like, well, you can pay to speed that up for X, Y, and Z.
See, since it's Apple Games, they took out all that stuff, so it really is just like fucking grinding. Which there's a certain point where I'm like, shit, I almost want to pay, but like
the Apple Arcade
for like however many towers you get, you get medals for that, and you get 5 for like destroying the base.
Okay.
And it used to be that you'd unlock these little booster packs with 6 medals, so you could play a couple games and unlock them. Now it's like you have to get 25 medals, and if you're only winning half your games and you're only getting 1 or 2, that means you're playing just fucking 2 hours of this shit back to back. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't have the fucking time, and it's eating into other parts of my life, and I just don't need it no more.
Well, speaking of not having the time, really, Nintendo doesn't feel like they have the time. Or maybe they have all the time. Because basically they had an earnings report, and in it talked about another gaming product, another console that they are going to make in sometime in the year 2000, like in the 2000 area, meaning in the next 28,000
22x or
20xx.
Yeah.
So in the next 100 years, roughly, but before we hit 2100, basically saying before we hit the year 2100, there'll be a new Nintendo. It's like,
thanks.
So 79 years is the range of could we get a new Nintendo console?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe bet. I would bet on that for sure.
I'm wondering too if like they're working toward VR, because I feel like that's Nintendo's next step, where like once you can interact in those worlds, or some kind of augmented reality where you can pop in and pop out, and I don't know. I'm excited to see where they go next. But yes, it's ridiculous that they're like giving in 79-year range.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to get something for the stakeholders to look forward to, but most of them might be dead by then.
Playing the long game.
Yeah, they're like, hey, there's gonna be something new coming around. Be like, okay. Also, they lost the top spot for console makers out to Sony as far as just console sales and stuff this year.
Yeah,
but that was gonna happen.
Exactly. If they're not coming out with a new system, and no one, I think, considers the OLED the new system.
It did miss its production goal by 20% though, which is pretty far off for Nintendo, which is rare.
Yeah, I mean, feels like the whole world's off their goal by 20%, so I'm not holding it against them too much.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, like Apple's still releasing stuff.
Well, remember they did just release a new console a couple months ago, the OLED.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm assuming that's the production that they're down on. Maybe.
I think it's just they missed their production goal as a whole for Nintendo, is what the earnings report was for. So it's like that, because all could be related to games and things like that. But I'm not sure. But yeah, none of it's surprising. I do think it's a weird. I like the move. Be like, hey guys, we got something.
Yeah.
We got something fucking coming. Be like, oh shit, really? Be like, look, I'm not gonna get any crazy, but in the next 79 years, we're gonna fucking put something out there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's just a sense of humor. Which,
if someone was born today, they would be almost 80 when this. But if they waited to the last second, obviously there's going to be 5 or 6 new consoles at least in that time period.
Yeah,
just average one every decade. And generally, the console cycle, Nintendo kind of switches it up. The general generational cycle is 7 years.
Yeah.
PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. It's all about 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. That's generally how long the generational gaps go. So you can easily kind of guess when the next one's going to happen.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll be all cloud, maybe we'll have VR, maybe we'll stop talking about those, and it'll be Oculus Quest. Unless PSVR 2 is going to be like, yo, we're coming in. Although we know there is going to be one cord, which I wonder if the success of Quest 2, because remember how they announced it's going to be a single cord instead of multiple. And it's like, all right, that's better. But I wonder if any of the success from that, they're like, scrap that shit. Just we need to do the wireless one. Just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, wait until that's ready. You need another year? Fine. We're delaying games. Let's delay hardware. Because I feel like that's where you really need to go. And then you get access to the whole PlayStation library. And it's like, all right, now you're competitive. But, maybe that's why we haven't seen the Valve Index 2, right? We saw the patent. We're all we were on patent watch forever.
Yep.
Not George. But Deep Cut, World War II. But been watching a lot of the History Channel. Anyways, they talked about the patent had a wireless index, but it was never officially announced or anything. But if they're gonna go there, it's like, we gotta do that. You gotta do that. The cord sucks, and the Oculus Quest 2 proved that it sucks. I know you have to now do a little bit more, but I don't know, because I guess like some of it is like with the cord they can make it higher fidelity because they're utilizing the PS5's power, whereas you're not going to be able to use that wirelessly, the graphics power of the PS5.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to put it in there, which means they're going to have to sell it for $400 or $500. So it's basically like a second console.
Yeah, I think
if you do it
kind of
wirelessly.
knows that that's like just the biggest hurdle with any kind of VR is like, if you're tethered, that takes you out of it immediately. Like, there's no arguing it.
But like, you get the powerful boost. That's why people are like, well, you like the Rift and the S and the Oculus use where you get the PC power. It's like you get the Index. It's the best looking VR because it's using a PC graphics card and shit with like 64 gigs of RAM or whatever the fuck you put in it. You can get the best fidelity and graphics out of VR, right? But the downside is you are tethered, like you said. So it's like there's got to be a way to kind of better utilize that, because that's the real shame. And maybe it's just using the computer or the PS5 as a cloud provider, and you're kind of running it through the PS5 and then viewing it through that, which is kind of like how you play for PC on like the X Cloud and shit like that.
Yep.
You're playing a game with the best looking software, but your computer is basically a long distance monitor, right? Yeah. But why not make VR a long distance monitor? Now, VR, the problem with that is refresh rate. You better fucking be really close to that PS5 or whatever they're going to do for it, because you're going to puke if it's, I think it's what, 8 milliseconds, 6 to 8 millisecond refresh rate.
Is all that you got. That's your wiggle room.
That's
right?
That's like the most it can be. The less than that, it's even better. But that, or else you get those motion sicknesses and things like that. So it's like, yeah, there's not a ton to play with, but you know, that I feel like is where it could go, and you know, just use your PS5 as that cloud provider, and could be interesting. So I don't know. We keep going in that. I didn't even know I was going to talk about VR today. It just kind of like rolled into it. But we also got a new Mass Effect game came out. I got no transition for that. Which is also
so it's like the Legendary Edition. It's 40 DLC things for Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3, including promo weapons, armor, and packs, remastered and optimized for 4K HD.
Fuck
Ultra HD, yeah.
But also, the interesting part is the poster that came out, the Mass Effect Will Continue, shows you back on Geth, heavily implies a fifth game. Like a new, because it's clearly not from a remake game.
Yeah.
Pretty much confirms, like, we're obviously getting that big 4K remake, but this kind of confirms we're actually going to get a sequel. So how does that affect with Andromeda? I'm not sure, but that's just what it looks like. Yeah, and that's kind of all I got. You want to just jump to trivia? I don't know. We kind of, oh yeah, I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy. We talked about what fucking great. The character, it's weird. You're used to the film voices, right? Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana as your main crew. So these are not them, but they do a great job. The voice acting is excellent. They're more comic book X, so it's not MCU related. Although you can get the outfits to the MCU. There is one part where you actually travel through the multiverse, and they directly reference the MCU. They have Avengers Assemble, and it's like, I'm pretty sure it's the clip from Chris Pratt. So they're like, what the fuck are the Avengers? That sounds dumb as hell. So it's kind of got an Endgame reference. It's more comic booky as far as the lore of Star-Lord.
Yeah. I saw probably one of the more boring parts of the game walking in.
Oh yeah, we were going through an empty ship. Yeah,
but it's still like the
I didn't think you
banter.
see a fight. Yeah,
no, I didn't see anything. The banter's still great. Like I got a good idea of what all the different characters were. I mean, obviously they're more or less the same thing in the movies, but
right,
like
it's very similar to the witty dialogue is clearly, but that was also the comics too.
Yeah, and just like a lot of like teamworky stuff, and
you only do play a Star-Lord. But you can like command like Rocket, go look at that. Drax, grab this. Get more. So Groot, do this.
Yeah.
So Groot's the only one that sounds the same, but that's because
I think Drax sounds pretty similar.
I am too. Groot. Yeah. Well, yeah. Drax actually does too, but I meant just because it's like the three lines. Just
yes.
voice.
Yeah.
But it is cool, and I mean, I've read 60 of the Guardians comics like before the movies came out, so I've like read the Guardian. This is very much the story characters. They nailed it. This is what the Marvel Avengers game should have been. They did their research. They developed it. It feels it's slightly missing some things. So it's not there with like Insomniac Spider-Man, which I would say is like the pinnacle of like superhero games, right?
Yeah.
And you got Spider-Man 2 Wolverine, which I'm sure will be up there as well because it's obviously by the same company. But Miles Morales Spider-Man, those are like kind of what you're looking at as like how well developed Marvel property as a game. And Marvel's Avengers is probably the lowest in modern, like this generation of gaming.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through everything. Guardians is a lot closer to Spider-Man than it is Avengers. So if Spider-Man is like the 100%, if that's the top level,
Yeah.
then I would say, if Spider-Man's like 100 and Avengers is like 50, I would say Guardians is like 85. Like
Alright,
it's really good, and it's and I played a good amount. I'm like 10 hours in. The story's really fun. You can get the outfits from the 2014 movie, but also the comics, like the Four Horsemen or Five Horsemen comic. Their Nova Corps outfits, a bunch of stuff that's never referenced in the movies. The way the mom storyline, really good, emotional, engaging flashbacks for Peter and his mom.
Oh, nice.
And how the mom dies.
I mean,
which in the movie,
but
right? But in the movies, it's like cancer and stuff like that. This is way more comic accurate, including his father, who is like Jason.
Yeah, a little darker.
No, I wouldn't say. I would say the movies are actually darker than this.
Okay.
But it's like just a, but like his dad is Jason, who is just basically the king of this society. And there's a bunch of iterations of Jason in it. There's like two main ones in the comics. So I'm not entirely sure which this one is yet, but it's leaning into that. So it's not Ego, which is what they did for the movies, because that kind of more tied in what they were trying to do with the MCU.
Yeah.
But it is going towards that. It's got a lot that's like cool. It's separate from the movies, which I love, but it's making me love this as well. I'm trying to think of what it is, but they definitely reference Insomniac Spider-Man.
Oh, cool.
Like the specific Insomniac, because there's a Spider-Man thing, and the guy, it was in that multiverse thing. They like, and I'm like, are they gonna do the crossover thing? Like, because this is a multi-plat. This is not like a PlayStation 5 exclusive game. This is on PC, Xbox, PS5, get wherever the fuck you want.
The real multiverse of gaming.
Yeah, and the multi-plat multiverse. But it feels like it was like developed for like it feels like very like those like AAA in-house studio. It has that feeling, which is why I'm saying it's a lot closer to Insomniac Spider-Man. It is definitely missing certain things that you're like, I wish it was there. But this is also their first run, and I can see them expanding it. There's a lot of decision making, which will affect stuff later on in the game, who you meet, who you don't meet. A lot of replayability, a lot of cool collectibles, a lot of cool references to stuff. I mean, you go to nowhere, and you can go to the collector's museum and see all these Marvel lore objects.
That's fun.
In the collector's museum, and some of that's also like references. So I'm like, where is this all like? Now, granted, a lot of stuff in the MCU is stuff that happened in the comics. They changed some, but some of it is the same. And one of the things in the collectors, I'm not going to keep going so detailed, but they have I forget his full name, but it's the frog. It's Thorg.
Oh, yeah.
The frog Thor.
Yeah.
And it's Frog of Thunder, and Frog God of Thunder, and he's like anything like, and it is. I did like a ribbit face or whatever, but it is so good. And but if you want to, you can read, and it has like pages of lore on each of these things,
Ooh,
and there's
cool.
like 30 objects in there.
That's
and
fun.
like, it really like gets you into it. It's not open world, which is like the one thing that Insomniac Spider-Man has going for it. Not that every game has to be open world, but what they did is they made an open world game feel like a linear campaign. Like every story, every mission feels new, exciting, well tailored. Everything kind of works, but all this co-op missions, side mission kind of work with that main storyline mission. So it feels very like it feels like it has the delicacy of a linear story as an open world, which is generally the failing of open world games. Is it's kind of all over the place. I do think Guardian would be great as an open world because you can get the ship kind of go around. So this is a linear Guardian thing. I think if they do a sequel, they could open world it because I think that I don't think every game needs to be open world, but Guardians could benefit from it just because of who they are and doing side missions for like scavenging missions. Or
I would say open world in the way that like what's it called? God of War.
Yeah, like that would even be fine. Having certain areas where it's open world and you kind of go to different areas. That would even be fine because I want to do side quests for this because there's so much information.
Yeah.
They actually, and the one thing, it definitely goes into, long story short, it's worth getting. If you're one of those people like, well, Avengers sucked, I'm not sure. It is smart. It is. You will not be mad about getting this game. It is great. But they actually go into Rocket's like girlfriend in it, which I thought was it, which is definitely where the third Guardians movie is going to go to.
Oh,
because they've referenced it a ton, and I know, and they're going to have Adam Warlock, which is all referenced in this game. So I was like, cool thing is, if you're kind of like, I want to get more lore tidbits, before 3 comes out, which got like 2 years. I mean, I know it just started filming, but I think it's like 2023. But anyways, for the release date, if you kind of want, if you're missing them, right, because it's been a while, this is perfect. And even if you only know the MCU, there's enough that you're like, oh, I get this, but then they'll give you the other connections.
Nice.
And the stuff that the movies just don't. It's a 2-hour movie. It doesn't have time to do these massive arcs to give you all this additional lore that it's like, do you want to spend 3 hours reading this shit or talking to these people? And you can.
Yeah.
And that is fucking cool. So
I love that like dig as deep as you want type.
Right.
thing.
You don't have to. Like you can skip a ton of this shit.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was like, I wonder if they did this. And they did. I was like,
yeah,
that's the additional like.
Yeah. I guess you can always go to Wikipedia because that's what I did with God of War, where I'm like, what's the Golden Fleece? And then I'm reading about Jason and the Argonauts for 2 hours.
Yeah. Great movie, by the way. But old school, but also a great tale. But anyways,
I was going more tale.
But yeah, well, yeah, it was actually a really shitty 80s movie, but still fun. But anyways, Guardians is fucking great. And I'm really enjoying it. I was on the last mission of Deathloop, and I was like, I need a break because I keep like dying, and I'm trying to do a perfect run because I have to. And Deathloop's like one of those things where you can keep changing everything, which is awesome. And I was like, I'll try Guardians, and now it's like been like 10 hours. I'm like, fuck, let me just finish Deathloop, get it off the plate, so then I can just fully enjoy this. But it's really great. It's really, really great. All right, let's jump some triv. You got some trivia today?
I do have some trivia today.
Word. All right, I'm not going to do trivia, I think, because you didn't do the last 2, and I haven't had time to look it up.
Yeah, that's fair. And mine might be a little, it's dance. So we're going back to the Metaverse, and we're going to do a little Metaverse / VR vocab. What is an avatar?
A rendering of a person digitally, I guess.
Yeah, a graphical representation of a user, the user's character or persona.
I would say I got that.
Yes, I would also say that. Capacitive sensor.
A passive sensor?
Capacitive sensor.
Probably works like a capacitor, so which I wish I knew how that worked. I don't know, some pressure thing from the object. I'm not really sure.
Anything conductive. So it's used to measure and detect the presence and position of human fingers. So they use those in like that little ring or whatever.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Cave automatic virtual environment. Also cave for short, even though it's in the name.
Wait, cave automatic virtual environment is also the C in cave?
Yes.
That's like one of those mirrors where you take a picture of yourself in there. Because it's like cave automatic virtual, cave automatic.
Yes.
What is
it? Yep. You can go straight. I don't know.
I would guess some just like generic virtual world. I don't know.
So instead of putting on like glasses and stuff, you're in a room or a volume where the virtual reality system uses projectors facing walls of the room.
That makes sense.
Surrounding the user. Foveated rendering.
Oh God, I should know this one actually.
I asked you it before.
Yeah.
This is a throwback.
I know. As soon as you said foveated, that's not a word you hear a ton. My brain's broke. I'm too fucking hungry. I don't know. I fucking fasted today. Last night
for
blood test.
Yeah.
My insurance change went to fucking Quest. They were like, your insurance only does LabCorp.
Dude, my room.
I had to leave, and they were full
coworker
up.
did that last week,
and I was like, God damn it! And they were like, I called. They're like, you can go in, but we gotta wait. And I was like, fuck this. I'm eating. I'm starving. So I just fasted for no fucking reason.
Yeah, it's good to
So-
fast every once in a while.
I know, but so I'm all fucked up today. So no, I don't remember what foveated.
Foveated rendering is when they render where your eye is looking at. So
Okay, like eye tracking?
foveated is field of view, like FOV.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's eye tracking plus rendering. So it happens like in a game, but it also happens in VR where it's like
Love that.
literally tracking your eyes and making sure that you have the most fidelity where your eyes are looking at, and just kind of
Like
little
high fidelity.
under rendered on the sides. Cartesianism.
I feel like I do know. I don't know, but I feel like I should know that.
So it is based off of like Descartes' theories and stuff. Basically, the mind and the body being separate entities, and it's used a lot in the metaverse discussions because you're literally like separating your mind from your body and placing it in another body.
Ooh.
So it's really like
Sexy.
kind of stretching that not metaphor, but like that form of reasoning, that it's like, oh shit, we're actually entering a part where you can kind of virtually separate your mind from your body in a certain way. Can you tell me the 6 degrees of freedom?
Tell you 5 degrees of heaven bacon. 7 degrees. Fuck. 6 degrees, is that like the movement, like your arms, legs, stuff like that?
Nope.
Then fuck it. Don't care. I just got told I'm getting a barbecue chicken pizza, and so
all right.
my mind's on food.
So it's your directions, front, back, left, right, X, Y, Z,
Oh yeah.
but then also pitch, roll, and
Right.
yaw.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense.
AC
brain.
core,
I'm noodly right now. I'm noodle. AC core,
or sorry, AR core.
augmented reality core. I don't know the engine that runs it.
Google software development kit using the smartphone camera to provide motion tracking and depth sensing data to app developers. AR kit.
I would assume that's the library from Google for AR.
Apple software development kit using the
Okay.
smartphone.
All right.
But that's cool, like just to kind of know that there's two separate tools that they're both like really pushing for other people using. Augmented virtuality.
Is that AR inside VR?
It's actually the other direction, because that's what I thought
VR,
when I first saw
so
it.
it's VR inside AR. So,
So
it's like,
it incorporates elements from actual reality into a virtual environment.
yeah, that's what I was. Okay.
So like if you have a table,
right. So
that
that's
table's
that's
being
it's
rendered.
Zuckerberg's metaverse shit with your office.
Yep, yeah.
That's what I meant when I said my answer for the art.
Yeah, it's
Bring real life objects into virtual reality.
Yep. Head related transfer functions. HRTF for short.
Guess I gotta go live in the VR world for development. Jesus Christ. Head related tracking functions. Is that what you said?
Transfer functions.
Transfer. Maybe tracking the head movement and things like that. I don't know. Or
Pretty darn close. I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
The mathematical function expressing the ability of the human ear to localize sound, used to simulate three-dimensional sounds with stereo interfaces.
Very
So like when you have your VR headset on, you're like, holy shit, it came from that direction.
Right.
Not just left or right.
Right. Almost what the sound bars tried to create too.
Yep. Photogrammetry.
No.
Using data from multiple high-resolution digital camera passes to create three-dimensional digital reconstructions
I like
of
that.
a captured space. And then the last one, stereopsis.
Something with audio.
You'd think.
Yeah, but it's probably not. It could also be a video.
It's having two eyes so that you can judge depth by using the overlapping two visual feeds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. That was interesting. That was really fun. For you.
You sound like you had a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
I had a
You're
great
like, holy
time.
shit, I thought I graduated already.
Yeah. I'm just like, I know. I was like, I'm so like fucking hungry and just want this to end at this point. I'm like, my energy levels dissipating rapidly. Can't have that. But
No, you can't.
no, that was all really interesting. And I have not fucked with enough VR. And that kind of juiced me up to be like, all right, like maybe I should fuck around, especially.
And if you guys do want to see any of these terms, go look them up yourself.
Yeah.
They're on the internet.
Well, I'm definitely going to check out the weather because I have Unity Plus. So I do fuck around with that. So I'll see what fuck around with that toolkit. See
We're
what I
going to
can
learn.
do. Yeah, I'm going to learn today. All right, well, see what we're going to learn today, tomorrow. This comes out Monday, unless you watch it live and you spoiled it for yourself. But you missed us, Denmark, and we missed you. I don't know how to say anything in Denmarky, which is probably Dutch.
Dutch, I believe.
Yeah. Arnold, Predator, Dutch. There we go. Did it. All right, well, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Keep gaming. We love you. We're back. And if something comes out in the next 4 days, we'll talk about it in another week.